you didn't know there are all these rules when it comes to someone who's been abused. You can learn it on your own or in a class, but you're never gonna know unless you ask. I'm not supposed to let you touch me. I'm not supposed to reveal a thing about me. Supposed to play coy. How can I play coy and keep my distance when I'm used to not putting up much resistance? Yeah. I bet you didn't know there are all these rules when it comes to those of us who've been abused. You can learn it on your own or in a class, but you're never gonna know unless you ask. I'm not supposed to let you touch me. Not supposed to reveal a thing about me. But how can I play coy and keep my distance when I'm used to not putting up much resistance? Yeah. Didn't know there are all these rules when it comes to someone who's been abused. You can learn it on your own or in a class, but you're never gonna know unless you... Would you like to know what I learned? I haven't written any new songs or poems in years, but I write down ideas here and there. And we were just out, Mom and I were out walking the doggies, and I came up with that. And I'm sure it was inspired because I have been dabbling, and I stress the dabbling part, in different free online dating websites, just to see what's out there, just to dip my feet in the water, getting washed or whatever, and getting some very nice compliments, by the way. I am sometimes, from men who aren't too shabby. But oh yeah, in LA, at the emergency domestic violence shelter that I stayed in for 9 days, and the subsequent first to serve transitional housing for domestic violence victims that I stayed in briefly. The first to serve, I had mandatory classes I had to take. Same with the emergency domestic violence shelter. At that first one, I learned from my caseworker that women like me who have been abused for a long time tend to wind up in the same type of relationship again. And not only that, but she actually taught classes to offenders who had to take mandatory classes, who were, charged with domestic abuse, and they told her that they can spot a woman who's been abused like from a mile away. They know all the signs. And then she's telling me all this crap, how you have to not reveal anything about you, because we have a tendency to blab and whatever, and all these rules, just my little song. Bet you didn't know there are all these rules when it comes to someone who's been abused. You can learn it on your own or in a class, but you're never gonna know unless you will. And at the transitional domestic violence place that I stayed in, it would still be there now, if not for certain things that happened. Number one thing being, I falsely believed that anybody who was in one of those places would have empathy and couldn't possibly be an abuser herself, but I found out differently from my roommate, who had it in for me, and could not. The sad thing is, you don't even want to know how hard I had tried with that woman. I was so nice to her and thought she liked me, and I learned things. But anyway, I had to take mandatory classes. In one of them, very nice black woman taught it, and you learn you do these little things, and if I even wanted, I'm supposed to be completely different than how I've always been. We did these little things where you put things, and how long do you think it should be before you allow a man to touch you? And the answer was a year. A year. Because that's how someone could get inside of you, figuratively speaking, inside your head, and then it's too late. And then you're not supposed to I learned from the caseworker in the other place, you're not supposed to reveal anything about yourself. And I said to her, because I'm smart, what are they going to ask? And you say, well, you turn it on to them. If they ask you about your family, you say, oh, I don't want to talk about that. Well, how about, let me talk about you, and all these fucking rules. I want to get fucked again yesterday. I want it to have already happened, and they go on that. It's just because we're a different breed of animal. That's why, and we're very vulnerable. Women have been in domestic violence, abuse situations for enough time, and we're not supposed to do what the normal people do. We're supposed to wait to whatever and that, and I can't do it. I can't follow any of the rules. I guess that means I'm highly likely to wind up in an abusive situation again, because the men you don't know ahead of time. You think I knew? Oh, but we do. In those classes, you learn the signs of certain things, and I do know the signs now. And you also never accept if someone hits you and they'll say, I'll never do it again. You end the relationship immediately. Even if they promise, even if they cry and beg, whatever. I do know the signs, but when you've been abused and in those kind of situations, you have very low self-esteem, and that's why you wind up most times back with the same kind of man. So that's why, they're not being mean, giving us all these rules and it's whatever. It's just, I know me. I can't follow that kind of crap. I like to step inside people's heads. I do that. I like to do that even with new friends. I learn new lovers that I want inside of me, sooner rather than later. Bet you didn't know there are all these rules when it comes to those of us who've been abused. You can learn it on your own or in a class, but you're never gonna know unless you ask. I'm not supposed to let you touch me. I'm not supposed to reveal a thing about me. How do I play coy and keep my distance when I'm used to not putting up much resistance? Yeah. I don't know. You tell me.